Hey folks, I just wanted to make a follow-up video to my Freezing Pulse Hierophant build guide. Um, we just finally hit level 100 the other day. The first time we've ever done that in this game, actually. And so I just wanted to make like a follow-up video to explain like how the build turned out and any like final changes that I made. Because I did make a couple of swaps in the very high-end budget side of things. I think I went over most of the high budget options in that video, but in case I forgot any, when I really hit the grind for level 100, we switched over to this at Series Reflection setup, which had the Reflection Shield, the Coward's Legacy Chain Belt, which allows us to run Pain Attunement, more spell damage at low life. One of the things that I know that I added since the video was a rank 4 Empower. I think it was Zamfair in the build thread pointed out that this was actually a DPS upgrade over both added cold and increased crit strikes, and I found that it seemed better to swap out added cold instead of increased crit strikes for this Empower 4 to give us the highest amount of DPS out of our 6 link that I could find. So props to him for pointing that out. I totally missed it. And I finally got a double corrupted 6 link soul mantle after I don't know how many busted 6 links. I think 7 or 8 at least. But we got the +2 proj and even rolled at max life, which is fine. I think in the dream version of this would be +2 proj, +1 all. I don't think I changed too much else since the build video. I think most everything's been the same. I did manage to equalize all my resist for the Wise Oak after way too many divines. I never really did upgrade these gloves. I wanted to get ones with level 20 faster casting at least, but never happened. And yeah, this build turned out, it's probably the most powerful build I've ever made and played, really. I don't know as I did. Holy Flame I might have been able to take to 100 in Synthesis if I'd stuck around, but this blows it out of the water. You know, this being immune to curses and freezing and shattering everything. Like I actually so I had 3 deaths on this character total, one of which literally just happened in this Dunes map after I hit 100. I was just doing a few Elder Dunes to make some currency for my next build, and it's not that terrible of a map. It's like this was like a 40 pack size. You know, I had 2 proj and extra fire. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I had Alva in here, and I zoned in there, and it was one of those really dangerous, like, you know, 80% chaos shooters, and I ran into a room that had just a giant pack of magic ones and a haste or a rare, and they just deleted me. So for the most part, I had 2 deaths on this character to 100. This 3rd death literally just happened after hitting 100. So it's just, and considering it, I feel like this is one of the more dangerous leagues to have happened, you know, trying to hit level 100. Having that few deaths with this league mechanic, I feel, kind of proves that this build was really safe. I have no doubts that you could play this build in hardcore. I usually avoid commenting on hardcore because I don't play it. I usually just play the softcore leagues. But the only 2 deaths outside of the one that I just had, which is just carelessness, at this point I don't really care, being level 100. They were server deaths, basically. They were just server lag. Typically, I think both of them I was fighting Maraketh from the Monolith, and the server pooped out, and there's really no surviving on any character usually. So, yeah, this build comes highly recommended right now. The addition of this Sanctum of Thought node really changed the game, because this allows you to transition into a really strong setup with just a Soul Mantle and a couple of Kikazarus. You get such a fantastic benefit of being unaffected by curses, and then you pair that with a Self-Flage for turning those curses into damage, and you have the makings of a really strong build. Yeah, I feel like if you're looking for a build that will safely and consistently get you to 100, I would give this one a shot. I also wanted to, I'm going to just run through another dunes here, because I wanted to kind of show where the build wound up damage-wise, because it's pretty messed up at this point. I think, you know, when everything, I'm just going to grab some random, I want something with like a lot of pack size. Yeah. So we got 2 proj, damage is cold, and minus resist. That'll be fun. But yeah, I think with, you know, cold snap on the target with flask, I'm like over 6 mil shaper DPS at this point, assuming I only have 8 curses. And obviously a lot of the time you're gonna have more than 8, right? I think we're like at 7 curses right now. But you can just kind of blitz through a map here. Don't run into bears, obviously. With few cares. Like, the damage mods can be dangerous, but dangerous for any build. And at least with this build, everything's frozen. So, you know, they're going to have to be unfrozen to prove it to be a threat, right? What do we get here? What the hell is that? I actually don't even recognize that. I'd like to find a monolith here to make the video quick, but as you can see, the build, you know, this is not your typical, you know, plod through the map and hide behind totems. At least this is a quick build. Part of that is the fact that because you're immune to curses and you don't need a warding flask, you have the room to run this Quicksilver of Adrenaline combined with Coward's Legacy Belt. You can really get to moving. And if you can balance things, you could run a Lori's Lantern here for the permanent bonuses of low life. Who is that? Oh, there's a general this way? Where? Did I break him out and just not notice? I guess it would be Viper, right? I must have missed him. But as you can see here, like, T16 monolith, a few dangerous mods, and you just kind of run them over. The build's really strong. And it actually doesn't take a huge budget to get this build off the ground. Hey, ouch. You see, that guy did a lot of damage, right? But most of that pack was frozen the whole time. So you're not going to find out. And that's why I had so few deaths leveling this character. Doesn't really matter how dangerous it is. The one thing I would say to avoid when you're going to be running these dangerous high tier maps is avoid the affix where they have a 90% chance to avoid elemental ailments. I don't know if we can roll that really quick. This one. This monsters have a 90% chance to avoid elemental ailments. This is a really dangerous mod if it comes paired with like damage affixes, but just kind of in general, because this map affix will often put porcupines on your map, which combined with the fact that you can't chill them and freeze them most of the time can be kind of dangerous. So I typically re-roll this one. Elemental damage reflect is really not that big of a deal once you start really doing a lot of damage per hit. You spend a lot of time resummoning totems, but otherwise it's not that dangerous, and I never thought too much about running really good maps with Ele Reflect. This affix, this 90% chance to avoid, and then the cannot regenerate life and mana, those two I pretty much re-rolled immediately. We're too reliant on, like, the 60% less recovery of life is fine, but the one that says you cannot regenerate life or mana is too hard to get around, I think. We're too reliant on our mana regen to make things work. You'd have to figure out how to, you know, maybe run a Lavianga's Wisdom or something like that, or whatever that flask is. It just didn't seem worth the effort to me, since those are the only two affixes you feel compelled to reroll. But yeah, I couldn't really be happy with how this turned out. I definitely give it a shot if you're looking for something really strong, but also pretty straightforward to play. You know, I tried to outline the build guide as thoroughly as I could. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the build thread. I'll put a link to that in the description. As for what's next, I'm not really sure. I'm still going to be streaming Path of Exile. I'm currently going to be messing around with like a Chieftain, some kind of self-cast. But I don't think I'm going to write a build guide for that just yet. I'm going to want to play that build up into at least the 80s and get a sense of whether it's going to be worth anybody's time or not. I just kind of wanted to make a capstone video for this build because it turned out so well and carried me to 100 in what I thought was going to be a pretty annoying league to level to 100 in. But this build pretty much gets around anything dangerous and does so with a lot of damage. Just damage by the truckloads. Especially if the more currency you can put into this, the more it gives back. There are a lot of builds where investing currency just doesn't give you those high-end payouts. You know, but here you can dump currency into a thing like this. The +2 proj was like a 15% damage increase. You know, I wound up investing into a 2-mod Watcher's Eye. That gave me another huge damage increase. There was a lot of good payouts here. And, yeah. So, give it a shot if you've never tried it. The only thing I would say about this build is that it's kind of laggy. Like if you have a pretty weak computer, once you really start stacking projectile speed and you start shattering things by the screen load, especially around monoliths, it can get a little bit laggy. Your computer can have a hard time keeping up with all the shatters. So you might want to keep an eye on that and try it for yourself. But otherwise, I don't know. This is going to be a hard build for me to top this league, especially. I don't think I'll be messing with a lot of Cyclone stuff. This build, by the way, if you do invest at this kind of level, when you get the Azur's Reflection and Coward's Legacy and stuff, this build actually does really well in the 5-army domain. I was getting into the 4th row of loot, you know, no Headhunter, no Inspired Learnings. Was just getting myself into 4 rows of loot, basically, towards the end, which is pretty good, and I think makes it viable for profit, if not just experience. It's certainly fun, though. This is a build that I'm definitely going to be playing next league, and I'll be updating it for sure for 3.8. But yeah, give it a shot. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the thread here in the comments, or you can stop by my Twitch channel. I'll be continuing to stream, and I'll probably be playing this build off and on to do some more dangerous content. Maybe so I can find all in Delve for once, or maybe farm some Uber Elder or something. So yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time.